If you need to or are considering moving to Chicago, you may be a little intimidated by what it might cost to live here. After all, it is the third largest city in the United States, and it's pretty much common knowledge that the two biggest, New York and Los Angeles, are very expensive. But what about Chicago? Well, in this video, we're gonna go over what the cost of living in Chicago is so that you know exactly what to expect. Hi, my name is Peter, and I'm a realtor here in the Chicagoland area. If you're considering moving here, or if you're considering leaving and need some assistance, feel free to reach out. All of my contact info is down below. I'm sure that my team and I can assist you. Before we dive into the individual expense categories, there are a few numbers worth going over for context. Chicago is about 20% more expensive than the national average. For comparison to the 5 largest cities by population in the country, New York is 128% higher, Los Angeles is 51% higher, Houston is 7% lower, and Phoenix is 4% higher. It's also worth keeping in mind that the median salary here in Chicago is right around $58,000, which is about $13,000 more than the national median. Okay, now that we have the general overview, let's go in a little deeper. We'll start with housing first because typically that's most people's largest expense. For the city as a whole, the median sales price here is right around $350,000, which you may be a little surprised by because that is well below the national median, which is $410,000. But the reason for that is that the cost of housing in Chicago greatly differs depending on what neighborhood you're in, as well as what type of housing you're in. And in general, the closer you are to the downtown, the more expensive it'll be. For example, a highly desirable neighborhood such as Lincoln Park, which is close to the downtown, will have a median sales price right around $650,000. Compare that to a neighborhood like Rogers Park, which is significantly further up north from the downtown, which has only a median sales price of just under $200,000. Now, if you plan on living in a condo or a townhome, you'll also have to take HOA fees into consideration. These fees typically cover building maintenance as well as other amenities, and they can run anywhere from as low as $200 to as high as $1,000 or more. So if you find a condo in the heart of the city that's only listed for $250,000, double check those HOA fees because it might not be as affordable as you think. Of course, rent will also vary depending on the neighborhood and proximity to downtown. But overall, the median for a 1-bedroom in the city is just about $2,100, and for a 2-bedroom, it hovers just above $2,600. Regarding renting in Chicago as a whole, about 6% of the population pays under $1,000 in rent, 40% will pay anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000, and 54% will pay $2,000 or more. Okay, now that we got the cost of housing out of the way, let's talk about some of the utilities that you may be expected to pay. The average Chicagoan pays just about $170 a month for utilities, and if you include internet into that, that average becomes $228. Here's how the breakdown looks. The average monthly electrical bill is right around $105. Your monthly gas bill will be right around $43. Water will be just about $11. Garbage will be $10, and internet will run you just over $60. It's also worth noting that your utility bills will fluctuate depending on what season you're in, because you might either have to really cool or really heat your home, so keep that in mind as well. Okay, the next living cost worth talking about is transportation. Now, in Chicago, the transportation costs will greatly vary depending on whether or not you own a car or you don't. If you want to save money and you have the option, I highly recommend you ditch the car and decide to use public transportation instead, because it's fairly reliable and definitely more affordable. 30-day passes for buses and trains in Chicago only cost you $75 a month. That rounds out to being just about $900 for the year to use public transportation as many times as you want. This becomes a no-brainer, especially because the public transportation can get you nearly anywhere in the city, including the 2 major airports. And if you ever need to leave the city for the suburbs, you can hop on the Metro for as little as $5. Okay, now if you plan on having a car or need to have a car, that's when the transportation costs begin to really increase. Not only is gas here in Chicago more expensive than in the outskirts, but you'll also find that you'll be paying a lot for parking. To have a private garage spot anywhere near the downtown area, you're looking at anywhere from $250 a month up to $350 or more. If you'll be parking on the street, then it'll only cost you a city sticker, which is about $100 for the whole year, but then your car is exposed to weather as well as anything else that might damage it. While we're on that note, it is worth pointing out that cars in Chicago definitely take a beating. Whether it's the severe weather, a lot of potholes, or just the reckless driving, you might find that you'll be in and out of the dealership or body shop more often than you'd like. And of course, that results in added cost. Overall, as I said earlier, I highly recommend ditching the car if you can, because you can totally live in Chicago relatively easily just using the public transportation. Okay, and the next category worth talking about is the food and entertainment. Now, this category can also fluctuate a lot because it'll greatly depend on your spending habits and lifestyle. Between all the amenities that the city has to offer, I will admit that it is all too easy to spend more money here than you'd like. On average, it'll cost anywhere from $200 to $400 a month on groceries for a single family household. And if you plan on eating out a fair amount, be prepared to spend anywhere from $15 to $35 on most mid-range restaurants, and that's not including any tip or drinks. When it comes to entertainment, you'll have a lot of options to spend your money on here in Chicago, whether it's live shows, concerts, museums, festivals, or anything in between. I would recommend budgeting anywhere from $200 to $300 per month here, just so that you could still experience all that the city has to offer without feeling like you're spending too much money in one place. And the last category that I do want to mention here are the taxes. You're probably well aware that Chicago and Illinois as a whole has a lot of taxes that other states do not. These include a flat income tax of right around 4.95%, the second highest property taxes in the country, and a sales tax that reaches above 10% in the heart of the city. So it's worth keeping in mind that as you're putting together your budgets for moving here, keep taxes in mind and maybe even set aside some money knowing that it's going to go to taxes. So there you have it. I hope that overview of the cost of living in Chicago gave you some sort of an idea of what to expect when you move here. Overall, for those of you that do want to spend a lot and are okay with it, you'll find plenty of options to do that here in the city. And for those that are more budget friendly, I think you'll be surprised by how affordable Chicago can be as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any other questions or wish to get more information about living in Chicago, then stick around because my channel is full of videos on that topic. I appreciate it, and I'll catch you on the next video.